Welcome back to the rules of engagement. We just talked about Sase versus Snute game 2. Sase's up right now 2-0. We're about to jump into game number 3. Before I do that, let me remind you guys of a great opportunity you have. If you go to facebook.com/MLGpro, you get to this website, you scroll down just a little bit, click on the Dr. Pepper Ultimate Gaming House, and it's an awesome contest. You make a short video talking about why you're the ultimate gamer, and you have the opportunity to win thousands of dollars in computer hardware. You know, they'll set you up with the latest in competitive gaming equipment. That means that the TV to play on, the computer to use, the Xbox, the amazing headset, the sound system, everything you need to have the ultimate gaming experience. That'll all be there for you. So it just takes a few minutes to do. If you want to get some new hardware, your rig's getting a little out of date, facebook.com/MLGpro to enter the Dr. Pepper Ultimate Gaming House contest. Or UGG for short, but Ultimate Gaming House sounds a little bit nicer. So now let's jump into game number 3. But actually, before I jump into game number 3, let me remind you guys, if you have any questions throughout this show or any questions about anything in general, please tweet them to me at axslav, because at the end of every show I do a question and answer period. So feel free to tweet me any questions you want answered. That's going to come up after this section. This section, though, is going to be Sase vs. Snute, game number 3. A couple things I want to talk about in this segment are going to be, first, talking about faking an all-in attack. How to do that and convince your opponent you're going all-in. Then how to defend a third base, because usually if you fake it all-in, they're going to make a whole ton of units. And then when they realize that you weren't all-in, now they're all-in. And now you're on the burden of defending your third base. So how to do that successfully. And then, if you do it successfully, you're going to have a big economic advantage, and how to capitalize on that. Of course, last game, we talked about how to capitalize on an army advantage by forcing a decisive engagement as soon as possible. Now, we're going to talk about how to capitalize on an economic advantage. So we'll jump into this game here. It's going to be against Sase vs. Snute game 3. And one thing that Sase is doing, right? A couple things that Sase is doing to fake his all-in is he's avoiding taking gases that his opponent can see, right? His opponent has vision of this gas. If you don't touch these gases, your opponent is going to think, okay, you're not teching. That means you're more likely to commit to an all-in, right? So only take the gases that they cannot see, right? If they see there's less gas, you're going to more likely think it's severe gateway aggression. Next thing you want to do, let me back this up a little bit again. So you only take the gases your opponent cannot see. And then what you want to do also is clear your third base. So, actually, oops, back it up a little bit more. So if you notice the first cell here, he goes to make sure there's nothing scouting his third base. Now, if you clear your third base, and you make sure that they think you're not taking any gases, then when you move out, right, if you look at this from Snoot's perspective, right, all he can see is there's a probe moving out here to set up a pylon, right? And then there's a Zeld, and he saw a Stalker back here as well. So he knows, okay, he's pushing out, he's setting up a pylon. I haven't seen him take a third base. I haven't seen him take this gas until, well, just now. But already, what's he doing? He's going to be saying, I've got to produce a bunch of units so I don't die. If we look at this, as soon as that, he's already building a lot of Zerglings. He hasn't even started his lair tech yet. Very late lairs. Already 740, no lair tech started. The Roach Warren finishes, and he's going to spend, he's going to spend all this money on getting 8 roaches, and then, of course, 10 roaches, and then S supply allows more and more and more Zerglings, right? So if you look at the drone count, he's only by 4 drones. At this point in the game, the Zerg should be up by at least 12 drones, okay? But because his opponent has faked the all-in, of course, if he was all-in, then what Snoot's doing is correct, because if the Protoss was all-in, he'd be on about 32 to 34 probes. So the Zerg would be up by about 12 drones. This is where you want to be. But because he's not all-in, all of a sudden the Zerg is not up by 12 drones. He's only by 4. And he's horribly behind in tech. But he's got a ton of units, right? He just built 10 roaches. He's got like 30 to 40 speedlings. In fact, let's check it out right now. He's got 14 speedlings with 24 more on the way. Well, not quite speed yet, but there will be momentarily. So he's got all these units. But the Protoss is in a very good tech position. He's already got attack upgrade done. He's got Robo done. He's got his armor on the way. He's got Twilight Council on the way, I think. Alright, I lied. Just Robo on the way. He's got Robo on the way. He's got a big tech advantage because his opponent hasn't even started lair tech yet. And economically, he's the same. So he's very, very, very far ahead right now. Now what he's got to do, he's got to defend his third base, right? Because if you look at the army size, Zerg's up massively. If Zerg's ever this far up above their opponent, they're pretty much committed to a lot of damage pressure-wise. Because they spent so much on units that could have all been drones, expansions, and or tech, right? So now it's about defending the third base. So one thing that's very important, just like in Wings of Liberty, defending a third base is all about building positioning, solid building placement, and a decent sentry count, just like in Wings of Liberty. You want these sentries, and you want good building positioning. Now, one thing I will mention, right here, I would actually, whoops, open up the wrong thing. Right here, I would like to see this area right here walled off with a gateway right here and a gateway right here. Oops, that's a bad G. But whatever, you can, this is a G. It looks like a weird curly Q. They're both G's, even though one looks like a power sign and the other looks like a curly Q. In fact, let's just fix this. Gateway right here, and then a cannon right here, right? This type of setup will prevent those Zerglings from flanking you. Of course, when they send roaches, it takes a while to kill your setup, and it buys you a little bit more time, and this is something most pro does do. In fact, Sase does it later this game, but I would like to see, I would like to see this gateway, or basically just a little bit faster being built there. Maybe instead of warping in a couple of these zealots, he could have gone, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have the money. In fact, he probably doesn't, but wall that in as soon as you can. But even if you don't have that walled in, as long as you have this walled off, right, and you have good force field placement, of course, when his opponent tries to flank, hopefully he would have warped in a guy there in time. And it's all about the key force fields, good building placement, the gateway here tanked, good sentry location, so with a single force field, he can actually keep them all, a little tucked away behind there. Of course, Photon overcharge and a Nexus. Just like Wings of Liberty, it's all about having that good building placement and a good sentry count, because when your buildings die, you replace them with force fields and you can defend at third base without a problem. And then, of course, at this point, this is when he's probably going to start getting these gateways. There we go. Finally, he's getting this gateway, just like I said. Now his setup is perfect, right? He can't be struck, and he's at a situation because he faked the all-in, right? He's ahead in workers, or he's slightly behind in workers, but for PvZ, when your opponent is this far behind in tech, Infestation Bit just started, he's technically ahead in economy in a way, because he's so far ahead in tech, relative to how the matchup would be. And now he's investing in a second forge, a Twilight Council, so he's going to get great upgrades. Basically, he's in a situation where he's got economy equality, but he's got a tech advantage. So you can kind of combine those into being, because he makes more cost-efficient units with this great tech and great upgrades, that makes his economy worth more than his opponent, so he actually has an economic advantage in a way. Because he's got this economic advantage, what he wants to do is he wants to use this economy to get more of a tech advantage and or an army advantage, and then you want to hit a timing before your opponent can equalize army strength. So you turn your economy advantage into an army advantage by making these big investments, right? Double Forge, Blink, double Robo Colossi, right? He knows that his opponent, because they're at economic disadvantage, they're not going to get those high-tech units, so double Robo Colossi is great. Of course, again, a little fake push, try to convince him to get more roaches. And meanwhile, this is going to get him in a better and better and better position to set up a really strong timing before his opponent can get a good economy. In fact, Snute here, his army is now is now starting to get closer and closer to the Protoss army, because he's been spending his time catching up in tech, and of course trying to catch up, get more economy, getting to 4th base, joining that up, getting to 5th base. Still no Hive on the way, no Spire on the way, no Swarm Host, no Mutas, nothing very powerful. And so now Baby can set up for an amazing, amazing timing attack because of all, he got the economic advantage, then he invested it into these upgrades here. 3-3 on the way, double Robo Colossi, whereas the opponent is basically just getting roaches. Of course, some nice force fields here. If you can actually get one more, you can kill a lot of those. Is he going to get it? There he goes. But the bottom line is, even without the sentries, the armies can get too strong. And the goal is to hit the timing before your opponent catches up. So right now, what's happening? He's finishing 3-3, and he's getting a lot of Colossi. But check out what the Zerg's doing, right? The Zerg's Hive's on the way. The Zerg's Spire on the way. You give the Zerg another minute or two, and they'll catch up. They're even getting upgrades, right? Once you get 3-3, you can't really get any more upgrades. So your opponent will eventually equalize upgrades. And right now, he's got 5 Colossi out, a 6 on the way. The Zerg Spire is just finishing. You wait too long, they can get a whole bunch of Corruptors to deal with your Colossi. But you use economic advantage to build up a tacked army that's very strong, and then you hit that timing before your opponent can equalize. You sit it too long, the advantage goes away. But you build up for a perfect timing, and you can move out, as we can see Baby Knight's going to do here, move out with this massive army before his opponent can catch up, basically, and equalize the situation. Of course, he's trying to be careful about counterattacks like that one over there. And all of a sudden, you're in a position where your opponent has a few Corruptors, right? He's got 7, but for 6 Colossi, it's not going to work. Your opponent is trying to catch up on upgrades, but right now, you got 3-3. They're 1-1-2, right? I mean, if you wait too long, they get more Corruptors, they get Broodlords available. Their Infestors get more energy, but right now, if you look at this army strength difference, you know, in fact, let me actually make it a little more obvious. If you look at this army strength difference right here, this here is what you want to be looking at. Those numbers, the Protoss has it all right now. You wait too long, you'll lose that. Hit that timing right now, and as you can see, when the engagement actually happens, it's just a slaughterhouse, right? The Xerxes and the Roaches, they get absolutely mowed down. The Corruptors, there's not enough. They get 1, they get maybe 2 Colossi. There's still 4 left, and the Corruptors get eviscerated. Of course, he's pushing for the win from there. Sase takes the series pretty convincingly, 3-0. An important thing to notice throughout this series, he's done it on a couple of core concepts. You know, we saw game number 2 utilizing Mothership to scout, then did the small Mothership poke to force his opponent to stay on low econ and low tech, and then constructed a big army and hit his opponent before his opponent could catch up and get a surpassed army advantage. Game number 3, the fake timing, put his and Snute overreacted. He should have really noticed that there was a fake timing by having keep better scouted that third base. We'd see it instant it was started constructed. But basically, he caused a massive overreaction by the Zerg. That puts him at a massive economic and tech advantage. And then he just used that tech advantage to invest, build up as much as possible until you get to a point where you can't build it up anymore, right? You're hitting 3-3. You're hitting your max. Your opponent's still, I mean, they may be max, but they're still trying to catch up on upgrades. They're still trying to catch up an army combination. Hit a timing before they can do so, and you'll have very, very good odds of winning the game. We'll take a short break and be right back with a question and answer period.